Regional Office for Southern Africa really focuses on inclusive industrialization. And the way we look at that question is really looking at, how can we move the needle in terms of countries moving into economic diversification, but also economic transformation, because we see this is where we're going to get a lot of the jobs that are needed for the sub-region. So what we have been really engaged with in terms of our work over the past 6 months has been supporting countries at the policy level. We continue to really work at the policy level in terms of industrialization, but just going beyond industrial policies, we've gone a step lower to look at local content policies. And because we believe that this is where we are going to be able to create the jobs, but also develop private sector within a lot of the countries. So we've done a lot of that for a few countries in the sub-region, looking at Zambia, for example, Zimbabwe, that was so focused on local content policies, because they're also looking at how do they benefit from, for example, the pharmaceutical industry, fertilizer production, which a lot of the multinationals come in, but then to see and position the private sector locally, how they can benefit in that sense. So that's one area that we concentrated on. But what we also did, we went beyond the two or three countries that we worked in to then have a regional conversation on local content policies, because we also have seen that within the sub-region, this is quite a key issue that needs to be pursued. And again, really looking at that to actually ensure that we are developing the private sector in our sub-region. So that's number one. Number two, we've also worked a lot more closely on MSME development, so micro, small, and medium enterprises. Again, as a lever to inclusive industrialization, but also to be able to tackle some of the socioeconomic development issues like poverty, lack of jobs, and inequality, and so on. And in this space, what we've done so far, and this is the first level, and which will lead to the point about what are we doing next year. We've done studies in all the 11 countries on MSMEs and where they are, what they need the most, and what kind of support that they need. But also then tagging that a lot more to technology and innovation, because we also see for MSMEs, but if you look at the AFCFTA, a lot of the conversation now it's into digital markets, e-commerce, and so on. So there's a lot of innovation there that we need to get the MSMEs ready so that they can also benefit fully on FCFTA implementation, but also whatever businesses or products that they're going to have, will be able, to tap into the global market through e-commerce. So that's an area that we also worked a lot, and we did have a regional conversation also. And pulling in all the member states in Southern Africa to speak around these issues, and we did that in Cape Town, which was an amazing and fascinating conversation that we had. And out of that, we then got a request from the SADC Secretariat for us to be able to support the Secretariat as one of our key recs in the sub-region to develop a regional SME strategy, which we will be taking forward for next year. There are other areas of work that we've done, FCFTA implementation, supporting a few countries to develop their national strategies. Mozambique was one. Eswatini has been able to launch, and we also have Botswana in the pipeline. Now we're actually working and finalizing that document so that it can actually go into validation and so on. So we will continue to work on that policy space, but really keen on implementation, and which leads me then to what we are focusing on for next year. So for next year, we want to pull in a lot of the work that we've done this year from policy, but more on the implementation side. So part of it will be supporting countries and MSMEs and private sector in terms of developing products, making sure that they're able to access markets, they have information, they have the capacities to be able to navigate, some of the non-tariff barriers that come with the AFCFTA or intra-regional trade. So really moving towards that, I think that's what we'll be focusing on. And we will be pulling in and collaborating with our collaborative partners. For now, we have UNDP as one key collaborator in this sense, but also GIZ, who are also in the space. Again, we are looking to look a lot more into other partners. I think we know USAID, they're working a lot in private sector development. So next year it will really be moving a lot of the stuff that we've started in terms of policy, in terms of weather policy, but studies, then moving a lot more to implementation, because I think that's a missing piece. In terms of challenges, I can speak to two. Number one, which is a good challenge, is we've seen a huge increase in terms of requests from member states over the past years in all of these spaces, private sector development, MSMEs, AFCFTA, a huge increase, like actually, I would say about an 80% increase in requests. The challenge, which is more of a challenge to us, is that we haven't been able to respond fully to a lot of these requests because of lack of resources. That's why we are also trying to be innovative and reach out to other partners so we can respond fully. And hopefully that as ECA, we'll also be able to mobilize a bit more resources also on this. I think the second challenge is then to also see, now we've done quite a bit of work at country level, but also to see how we can elevate this at the regional level. Like I mentioned, I think the request from SADC that we're getting, I think it's something that we are also going to make sure that we are elevating our engagement with both SADC and also COMESA in this sense. Again, all of these are good challenges or good problems, as you call it. I think the ask on our part is to be a bit more innovative and see how we can respond to all of these issues.